Hi, today I'm on the outskirts of Bremar in the Cairngorm Mountains, and the plan is to make my way up the Cairngorm Pass and camp at an interesting spot with a bit of history right at the top that's very close to the ski centre. Today I'm not walking in, so I'll show you how we're going to be getting up and I'll bring you along for the ride. So we'll get on board and I'll bring you along on the ride up the Cairngorm Pass, and when we get to the top I'll tell you a little bit more about why I've chosen to camp there. Today I'm out in the Cairngorm Mountains and I'm out to do a bit of motor camping on a famous old bit of road. Now I'm sitting on the old road that used to make its way from Glen Shee up the Cairngorm Pass over and dropping down to Bremar in the Dee Valley. Now the route was originally constructed in 1749 as part of General Wade's plan. His military roads were specifically laid to move troops quickly through the mountains to aid in the suppression of the Highland people following the Jacobite risings in the 1700s. Now at this point the route up the mountain pass was so steep that a pair of switchbacks were added to help the carts make their way up the steep incline. The corner became known as the Devil's Elbow. Over time, the route's use has changed from horse and cart to internal combustion powered vehicles. And right from the very early days of motoring, cars would come here to try and get round General Wade's hairpins, sometimes with the occupants having to get out and push to succeed. Now the infamy of the stretch of road spread far and wide, and as the age of the car started to boom, people would come here to test their driving skills. It became a destination road, very much like the North Coast 500 is now. In 1934, the Highland Rally made its way round the hairpins, with the cars skidding round the old tarmac corner to the applause of the gathered crowds. In 1967, even Prince Philip was bitten by the Devil's Elbow bug and decided to have a go in one of the Daimlers from Balmoral Castle, taking along his wife, Queen Elizabeth II, to share in his adventure. Now, by the late 60s, the road and particularly the hairpins had achieved a celebrity-like status, with people queuing up to take their turn round the famous bends. But vehicles were still getting stuck here. At the first drop of snow, the road would require constant ploughing to keep the route open, and often the battle against the elements would be lost and the hairpins would become unpassable. So when the 70s arrived, it was decided that something had to be done. In 1971, the newly named A93 was relaid and widened, taking a new, less challenging route up the mountain, making the Devil's Elbow and its challenging hairpin corners a thing for the history books. The A93 is now the highest main A road in the UK, with its high point of 2,200 feet just up there at the ski centre. You may have seen me avoiding some of the resident sheep in the middle of the road as I passed over the high point. Now, the new road is still popular with sightseers and is now being promoted as a scenic route with viewpoint stops built along its way. In our modern, safety-driven age, drivers are encouraged to drive slowly and quietly up the pass and stop occasionally to take in the vistas and maybe a snap for Instagram. But if you sit here for a while, you'll still hear the occasional motorist giving it the beans and taking on the mountain, just like the drivers in the bad old days. Well, I hope you enjoyed that bit of history. If you did, it'd really help if you gave me a thumbs up. Thanks for that. Now, I think it's time that I started to set up my camp, and I have picked a spot right on the apex of the elbow of the road because it's out of sight of the road up there, and I've done that for a reason. I find if you camp next to a road and you can be seen, often somebody will pull up and pitch a tent right next to you. I'm not sure why, but I think maybe they just know it's a good spot and they want to join you. So tonight, I don't want to have any guests, so I'm going to camp out of sight. So I'll go and put my tent up. Well, that's the tent up, and it actually put up quite a fight. The wind is picking up a little bit, but you know, I am in a kind of mountain pass, so I expect it to get windy. And today I've actually brought with me the venerable Eurohike Tamar 2. You know, it's a budget tent. I mean, you can pick these things up for like 50 quid, and I've had this one probably 10 years, and yeah, it is looking a bit rough around the edges now, but I think it's a really good dome tent. I've beefed up the guy lines and, you know, done a few modifications. It's actually got aluminium poles these days, but that's just off an old tent. But it's a good tent. So that's all up. I'm going to get my bedding in and then I'm going to get set up for some dinner. It's time to get some dinner on, and tonight I'm having haggis. Grant's, where's it gone? Grant's tinned haggis. I've had this before. This is great camping food. And I'm having it with Idahoan buttery mash. And I've also got some gravy powder, so I'll make some gravy. And the way I'm going to cook it, I'm using a gas stove, and I'll peel the label off the can, plop the can in there, fill it up with water, bring that to a boil, and then simmer it for a while. And then I'll use the water from that to make my mashed potato. Now, I'm not going to get metal poisoning. I've done it before and it didn't kill me. And I also have some water left over for some gravy. So I shall set it up and we'll see how we get on, because it's very windy. I'm hoping that I'm not going to struggle, but we'll get on anyway. Well, dinner's ready, and I'm really looking forward to it. So here we go. Yeah, probably not that appetizing looking if you're not into haggis, but really, really looking forward to this. And I've got a big load of gravy. Oh yeah, so there we go. Haggis and gravy and mashed potatoes. I'm really looking forward to this. I shall try a bit. Oh, That's fabulous. That Idahoan powdered mash is fantastic. It's really good, but I think for haggis to take camping, this Grant stuff is really tasty. Yeah, I'm going to really enjoy that. So I'll get tucked in and I'll see you when I'm done. Well, that's dinner done. Normally I would say there's always room for pudding, but I'm absolutely gunnelled. That was a lot of food, so there's definitely not room for pudding tonight. But I forget how good haggis is as a camping food. Now, I know there'll be people out there kind of screwing their face up about the thought of it, but it is a fantastic food. And I mean, try it. Get a can of it and try it, because it is brilliant, calorie packed, tasty stuff, and it comes in a can. It's just brilliant, and you heat the can up. Now, I did actually boil some extra water, because my idea of boiling the can, I've done it before in a bigger pan, but the pan I bought, it actually didn't have a lot of water in there, so I boiled my separate pan up to make my mashed potato, and I used the water that had been around the can that got some of the kind of fats that came out of the haggis, and I made my gravy, and it was just fantastic. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. So I'm gonna just chill out now. I've got the best TV in the world, and that's the view of the mountains, and I've got a bit of weather coming in from behind, but I'm not bothered. It's chilled up a bit. I put my coat on, and I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to have a can of cider, and I'm just going to watch the world go by. I think that's what's for tonight, is just sit and chill. Maybe listen to my book, but actually I think I'm just going to sit and watch the mountains. Well, it's time to get in the tent. I've had a really chilled out evening sitting outside, and the weather has been kind of rolling in. The clouds have been rolling up the valley, and it's just started to rain. It's just after 10 o'clock. So I'm coming in, I'm going to hunker down, listen to my book, and just nod off. So I will see you in the morning. See you in the morning. Well, good morning, and that was a changeable night. The weather got up in the middle of the night and it got windy and wet, and as you can see now, yeah, we've got mountain weather. It's wet and foggy and not very warm, but hey, that's what you get for camping in the mountains. So I'm going to get camp packed up as quick as I can. Most of it's away in the panniers already, and get loaded on the bike and have a nice slow steady ride down the mountain. Hopefully the weather will be better on the other side of the mountain, and a nice easy ride home. I'll probably stop and get some breakfast on the way, and I'll see you back at base for a wash up for the highs and lows of the camp. So I'll see you soon. There we go, all packed up, a bit damp now, but as ever, I've left no trace, and now it's time to just get on the road. So I'll see you back at base. Well, that's me back home, and what a brilliant camp. Even though I was right next to the main road, it was a really peaceful spot, and I had a really chilled out evening. I had a belly full of food. I thoroughly enjoyed the haggis and potatoes. Maybe a tad too much. There was enough there for two people, and I definitely didn't have room for pudding. But I lay there very satisfied with a belly full of food and had a really chilled out evening. And the next morning, yeah, it was raining when I packed up, and I left in my waterproofs. But as I suspected, I dropped down the other side, and by the time I'd passed through Bremar, the sun was out, and I actually stopped in Dinnet and took my waterproofs off and had a really warm, dry ride home. So all in all, everything turned out well. A really nice camp. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be really good if you left me a thumbs up and a comment. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, it would really help if you click the subscribe button. Well, until the next one, I'll say ta-da. Ta-da a bit.